Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone. How's everyone feeling today? Are we good? Yeah? Excited? Yeah, excellent. MasterCard have launched an outreach programme called Mic Drop Talks. The programme is travelling across the UK to visit schools like today and to chat to students about all the various career paths available within the creative industries. But before we dive into all of that, we've got a really special treat for you. Young Athena is a Brit School alumni student, and she's here today to perform 2 of her songs for us. So bring your hands together and give a huge round of applause for the amazing young Athena. How amazing was that? Thank you so much for that, Athena. So welcome, Ellie Newton. So, Eleanor, you've worked in the music industry now for 12 years. In your current role is co-leading the guest and artist liaison team at Festival Republic, which is a division of Live Nation, I believe. So can you tell us more about what your job entails and what Festival Republic does?
So, hi everybody. Festival Republic is the festival arm of Live Nation. So Live Nation are the biggest promoters, agents in all of like live music, in sport, in comedy. So as I said, Festival Republic, we deal with the festival side of it. So you've probably heard of Wireless, we work on that. We do Reading, we do Leeds, we do Creamfields, we do Download. There's quite a few festivals that we do. And so my current day-to-day, it never looks the same. It's different every day.
I was going to say, my next question was, do you have a typical day, or is every day just completely different, exciting? And tell us a little about what a typical day might look like, or a typical week that might look like if it changes every day.
Okay, so as I work in the guest team, as I think you said earlier. So we deal with everybody who comes to the festival who doesn't buy a ticket. So if you purchase a ticket as like a standard person, then you come into the general admission areas, which is just the all-round festival. And then if you go into the VIP area, then you have to pay like a premium price for that. So we deal with people who go into the VIP areas and backstage who don't pay for their tickets. So that's anybody who could be invited by the artist, by the promoter, by anyone who works in our company. Other companies, we often sometimes, give tickets if they need to come and speak to artists. Yeah, there's a plethora of people who are working and who need to kind of be in those areas and not pay for their ticket.
Definitely. And when you were a youngster at school, you always knew that you wanted to work in the music industry. And at first you thought that would be as a singer. So can you tell us a little bit more about where you kind of began and how you got here?
Sure. Well, I went to the Brit School as well as that young lady over there. And she's the reason why I decided that singing wasn't for me. So from a very young age, I definitely was like, I'm going to be a singer. I've got a decent voice. And so I went to Brits, and on my first day, my first singing lesson, I was just really excited. I was thinking, this is what I was meant to do. And I went in, and there were people who just actually blew my confidence right out of the water. So I very quickly had to find a different path. So the course that I studied was performing arts with technology. So the technology side of it, I was never interested, but it came as a combined subject, so I had to do it. So in technology, I did things like sound engineering, I did photography, I did like camera for studios, like you get in like TV film cameras. And I really took to photography, and I thought, okay, well, since I'm not going to be a singer, let me go down this path. So I went into photography, did that for very many years. And then I got to the stage when I had a child and I couldn't do photography any longer because it's quite demanding on your time. So I thought, okay, I need to find another path. So I'd always been really interested in putting on like little events, birthday parties, christenings. If anybody wanted anything done, I was the go-to person. I'd get all the theme, like the decorations, the cake, everything would be organised to perfection. So my partner at the time said, well, go into events. So I thought, okay, but events is a very, very broad spectrum. So then I thought, maybe I can see if there's something that I could do where I could do a hybrid. So I was doing some research, and then I found at London Metropolitan University, there was a course that did events management and music industry management. So I went along and I did that, and that was awesome. So I met a lot of other like-minded people who wanted to get into all different things, tour managing, working on site at concerts, festivals, and they really opened my world and showed me what could be possible. So after speaking to a couple of people and doing some more research myself, I managed to get a job working at Festival, which was an old festival that used to happen on the Isle of Wight. Went along, loved it. I was a skivvy for a couple of days, sweeping Elton John's dressing room. And then it just launched from there.
Amazing. And I think it was when you were at the British School as well, you discovered that there were a lot more avenues to go down in the music industry. It didn't necessarily have to be singing. And you kind of learned lots from different people there, from seeing what was going on. So what did you learn from your time there and the qualifications that you studied to help you progress to where you did, going to university and from there?
So as I said, I did a BTEC, which was equivalent to 2 A-levels at that time. I don't know if it still is the same now. Brits really opened my eyes because, as I said, that whole technology side of it, I had no knowledge that there was any other thing you could be other than a performer. I thought you had to be the singer, the musician, and that was it. I didn't think about the people who managed them or managed their lives or managed their performances, or people who even helped to put on performances, like the production teams, the lighting, the sound, drivers. And so Brits was my first taste into, wow, there's a lot of other experiences and a lot of other careers that I could pursue. And then I think just once my career started, you're kind of in one spot, but you're privy to so many other things. So you're standing here, but you're like, oh, that looks interesting. What's that over there? Or I see those people doing that. Like, I could get into doing that. And that was just how it kind of unraveled.
And how important is it, would you say, to get kind of work experience and to sort of network with other people in the industry that you kind of want to go into? Because, making connections with others, building those relationships, because you did a little bit of that, didn't you, in your early career, and that really helped.
Yeah, I did. That is vital. I think in the creative industries especially, I hate to say it being in a school, but further education might not always be the best way, but it's not the only way. I think further education can help to propel you to certain levels. So, for example, if you studied a degree, then you can maybe go into middle management or something, because that constitutes for experience, because you've learned the theoretical side of it, but you definitely cannot be having first-hand experience. So I would say, to anybody who's young and wants to get into the creative industries, if education isn't your thing, because it is for some people, it isn't for others. If education isn't your thing, get into volunteering. Do some, the local theatre, the local whatever you've got going on, Jam Club. Go get some experience in whatever it is that you like. Maybe you don't know what it is you like, so just go along and volunteer, and then you'll see other things, and then you can follow other paths and, just get your world kind of expanded. But experience, you can't beat experience.
Definitely, and it's quite a tricky thing, isn't it, to know how to do it, to make those first steps. So volunteering is a great way. Mm-hmm. Are there any other kind of areas that you think students could maybe do to get those experiences in networking, or any other kind of tips that you could give them?
Well, it's really difficult as we speak about networking. It's difficult to network when you don't have a network. When you're at the start, it's really tricky. So there are certain colleges that you can, look up, and they might have links to businesses in the industry. There's apprenticeships. There's mentors. Even if you can't get to work in a certain industry, maybe you could give them an email and just say, I'm interested in maybe speaking to somebody, or, just keeping yourself immersed in the career that you want. If you can't be in it, make sure you know everything about it. You've got LinkedIn. It's a great resource. You can find people on there. Maybe you can speak to them. Yeah, and that could help you out.
Definitely. You've had an amazing career over the last 12 years, and you must have so many things that you can look back on. What have been some of the most enjoyable and rewarding moments of your job, looking back on your kind of incredible career, and what are the kind of big standout moments from it, do you think?
I think getting to inspire the next generation is something that is really important to me, and it really makes me happy in my career. There comes a certain point in time when doing what I do, you just feel like you're giving privilege to more people who are already privileged. People who come through my team, a lot of the time, they are promoters, they are agents, or they are artists' family, and they're already getting, a lot of hospitality, and they get looked after, and it's great to continue their level of service. But when you can inspire and you see people who are not used to that world coming into that world and having their having their mind expanded and really becoming passionate about what it is that we do, I think that's really, really rewarding.
Absolutely. And I guess looking back on where you've come from to where you are, what advice would you give to your younger self and to all the young people maybe in this room who are thinking about getting into the music industry? What would be your kind of one piece of advice?
Show up as yourself, but show up as your best self as often as you can. Not everything's going to go your way. Today I was horribly late, the trains were awful, and I was like, it put me in a bad mood, and I thought, I can't be in a bad mood. I have to come and I have to show up and I have to present my best self. So wherever you are, you never know what any situation is going to lead to. Always present your best self, because you might meet somebody who doesn't even really interact with you at that moment in time, but they're always keeping an eye, or that person did a really good job. So maybe the person who that you do know, they could speak to that other person and be like, oh, that person who came to volunteer, could we get them back in again? Or just always be your best self.
Thank you. And I think we've got some time now for some questions from the audience, excitingly. Cool. So,
who's the most famous person you've worked with?
That's relative. It depends on who you think is. So what's your favourite artist?
Probably maybe Ariana Grande. Or Billie Eilish or someone like that.
Well, I have worked with Billie Eilish. She came and she headlined Leeds, I think it was 2 years ago or a year ago. Yeah, we've worked with Billie.
What sorts of different qualities do you need to be in this profession, in a way?
Well, I guess it depends which role you would like to do in the industry. There's so many roles. I mean, even if you want a more traditional role, like finance or legal or like marketing, they're quite standard job roles, which you can also find because, of course, every business needs these things to operate. So I would say, depending on what you want to get into, is the attributes that you would want to focus on. So if you do want to get into accounting, then you need to have strong numerical skills. If you wanted to get into marketing, then you need to know about social media, about analytics, that sort of stuff. If you want to get into the more talent side, so where you work closer to the artist, that is going to be where its personality is going to play a lot into it. People have to like you and you have to be likable.
If you studied music production or music management, would you say that opens a lot of doors to get a job in the music industry?
So my experience was that it didn't. What it actually did for me was one of my colleagues one of my fellow students who I studied alongside, she had got a job working for a promoter, and I was looking for someone to book one of my artists because I was an agent when I first started on my music career journey. So I must have called her and I was just explaining, I need to find some gigs for this artist. Do you have anybody? Because that's how it works. An agent and promoter work really closely with each other. The agent is basically like a salesman. You sell your artist, and the promoter either buys them or doesn't. So she was like, oh no, we don't have anything at the minute where this artist would fit in. And so we just started speaking about life in general. And she was asking me how I'd, been getting on. And I told her that it was really tricky. I didn't have a clue what I was doing. I was not an agent. I never wanted to be an agent. It just kind of presented itself. And I've got a very can-do attitude. If I don't know what I'm doing, I'll still say, yeah, I'll do it. And I'll learn on the way. So then she basically invited me to come because there was a job going at her place of work. And I went along and I had an interview and I got the job. So from my personal experience, and maybe because I wasn't on the technology side of the music industry, my qualification didn't help me get my job. And after my first job, no one ever asked for my qualification after that. It was just more about what I'd done. But if you wanted to do something more technical, like sound, light, rigging, anything where you need to be very knowledgeable and have those skills, then yes, I would say that an education would be beneficial.
Thank you.
We've got time for a couple more.
Sure.
More questions, yeah.
Can you please tell us about Brit School, like where it is and what does it offer?
So Brit School is in South London. I think I was in the second year intake, so it was really exciting because it was heralded as a school which was going to offer subjects which you can't really get taught anywhere else at that time. They were going to teach you things about the industry, teach you things about professionalism. You could have acting classes, dancing classes, singing classes. So when I went along, that's exactly what I did. I did the performing arts side of it. So I did dance, drama, music. And then, as I said, I also did technology, which was, it was just mind blowing at that time. I was 18 years old. I'd never been into a recording studio. I'd never been into a television studio. So to have access to these things at my school was just wonderful. And I was just saying to young Athena, it's a real shame that there aren't more schools, because luckily I lived in South London, so it was really close for me. But you can imagine it attracted people from all over. People from all over the country had to leave home at a very young age, move to South London, just to be a part of the Brits. So it is great, and I think it's something that if you're interested, you should definitely pursue.
What aspect of your career do you enjoy the most?
Not paying for concerts. That's what I enjoy the most. I don't enjoy everybody messaging me in my inbox when they want to go somewhere for free and thinking that I've just got a never-ending source of free tickets, but I do enjoy not having to pay and, usually having really great seats.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
If I got into Brit school, do you think I could do rap?
Of course, yeah. I think you could. I don't think they don't. When I was there, certainly they're very supportive of any form that your artistry takes, as long as it's not offensive or, promoting anything illegal. They're very, very supportive of all sorts of music.
How did your school curriculum help you, do you think, along the way? Is there anything that you think that you learned at school that kind of really helped you in your future career?
Do you mean particularly at Brits?
Yeah, or any time in your school career, just trying to think of something that the students might learn now that might help them later on, maybe some of the skills that you've used in your career.
Well, that's a really good question. I think learning in itself is a massive skill. So when I was at school, I don't know if any of you are like this, I was naturally bright, so I never felt like I had to excel. I didn't really, I didn't apply myself as best as I could. And I came out, I had great grades, I got 11 GCSEs, but it just always kind of felt like a chore rather than something that I personally showed up and did, as something that I wanted to do. I then went to uni later in life, because when I first left school and I went to Brits and then I left Brits, my mum was really on me to go straight to university, and I just couldn't think of anything worse. So after much battling, I managed to not go to university, just go straight into the workforce and live my life. But then later on, when I got to 35 and I realised, okay, well, I think it is important to go to uni, that changed my whole perspective, because then I went because it was something that I wanted to do rather than it just being a chore. And it was at that time that I learned that learning is actually a skill, being prepared to learn, making sure that you take notes, making sure that you've got everything written down so that you can refer back to things. Because that was something I didn't really do when I was at school, as I said, because I wasn't applied, I didn't really care. But at uni, I cared, because I then understood the value of an education and I knew what it meant for my future. So, yeah.
There are so many routes into the creative industries, aren't they? It doesn't have to be, a specific way. There's so many avenues, and you definitely found that. So thank you so much, Ellie, for sharing your story with us today. I think it was amazing. Can we give a massive round of applause, please, for Ellie? And can we also give another big round of applause, please, for young Athena? I think what's kind of come out of today and what's really important to remember is whether you want to perform, design, manage or create, there's always a way to follow your passion in the creative industry. Keep dreaming big, stay curious, and who knows, maybe one of you will be up here inspiring the next generation sometime soon. Thank you.